Hello, this is Jarrett at Sweet Maria's, and I am with Dan and Julia. And today, the three of us are going to be talking about sort of some disparate topics. It's going to cover green coffee, it's going to cover some products, and even our website a little bit. The unifying idea is things that we feel have flown under the radar. And so I am going to be talking about some of our brewing options that we feel have been flying under the radar. And I'm especially going to be talking about an idea with brewers that I think has flown under the radar, which is that the most important thing is actually the filter. Dan is going to be talking about an origin that we at Sweet Maria's feel has flown under the radar, which is Timor-Leste. And also, he is going to be pointing out a section of our website that is kind of hard to find, and it's where sample sets are located. So he's going to be talking about that and how sample sets have been a little bit underutilized, we feel. And Julia is going to be talking about our biodegradable bags, which the idea is that what's really flown under the radar about these bags is that they are different from similar looking bags on the market. So Julia is going to be talking about how they are different and how that's kind of flown under the radar, as well as clarifying what's going on with us and cocoa. If you didn't know, we are offering a cocoa set for a very limited amount of time. I'm getting a lot of questions asking about it, but also if you haven't been paying super duper close attention to our social media or our YouTube page, it might have flown under the radar for you. So does that pretty much cover everything?
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
Spoilers then.
Yeah, lots of spoilers, but wanted you to know what we got going on
cliffhangers.
here. Yeah. So what I'm going to be talking about is some of the brewers that we feel have flown under the radar, and a concept for me that I think has flown under the radar, which is the importance of the filter itself. We had some social media posts recently where we compared both the Kalita Wave and the V60 against each other with brewing the same coffee to see which one the staff preferred. It ended up being a tie. And the reason we were talking about these is because a website called The Wirecutter, which is owned by the New York Times, just called these two brewers their top recommendation. And, you know, the V60 and the Kalita Wave aren't under the radar in terms of coffee brewers. Plenty of people know about them. But what's under the radar at Sweet Maria's is some of our low-cost alternatives. And specifically, we have low-cost brewers that hold V60 filters. We have a new one that is going to be launched very, very soon. You can see it's just a standard V filter, and it's got some ridges on the inside. And it also comes with a quite nice carafe. And we also have one that's already live. It's a little bit smaller, but it's also a V-shaped brewer with a carafe. And these brewers don't have a brand name. So if you're searching on our website, and for instance, you search Hario or Kalita, you aren't going to see them. You kind of have to dig through the menus. But the idea for me about why these really are great and maybe fall under the radar is because what I think is important is that not the brewer so much, it's the filter. And all of these brewers, the V60 and both of these, all hold V60 filters and utilize Hario V60 filters. They can also really any V-shaped filter you can put in them. And it's what we discovered in our side-by-side brewing is that the filter medium and the filter shape do change the brewing dynamic and slightly change the resulting brewed coffee that ends up in the cup. And what's great about these brewers and the fact that they're low cost is that it makes it accessible to have several brewers at home without making too big of an investment. You know, the Kalita Wave and the V60 are both great, but they are expensive. Whereas with each of these for under $20, you can have a new filter medium that, you know, lets you have a new experience. And we also have another brewer, which has also flown a little bit under the radar, which is the Origami. And what's great about this is that it holds basically every type of filter that you might find interesting. It holds the Kalita flat bottom just fine, as well as the V60. So I just wanted to point out, you know, that I think what's really important is the filter itself, and that has really kind of flown under the radar with more of a focus on the brewer rather than the filter. And that we offer some low-cost alternatives that can allow you to try a whole bunch of different filter types without making too big of an investment. So hopefully this helps you find some under-the-radar brewer options and filter options on Sweet Maria's. And now I think Dan is going to talk a little bit about some coffees.
Hey, Dan here. I'm going to set a little timer because I'm not good at watching the clock. I'm one of the coffee buyers here and write a lot of the coffee reviews. And so, you know, when approached about a green coffee that we could feature that sort of follows this theme of kind of flying under the radar, we came up with Timor-Leste, which I just think is an origin that a lot of our customers don't often consider. It certainly seems to be an underrepresented origin, and you know we don't import as much coffee from Timor-Leste as we do a lot of other origins like Ethiopia or Guatemala. But the coffees deserve their own sort of special focus. You know, I think part of the reason that people don't often think about them is that the coffees are pretty quiet coffees, and that they're, you know, what they're known for. So that, like, wet process coffees tend to be, you know, crowd pleasing flavors, balanced sweetness and bitter sweetness, and which, you know, by design are scored lower, so they don't tend to stand out up against coffees that are floral and bright. But I think they're also often lumped in with coffees from Indonesia, which, well, it's not Indonesia. Timor-Leste is the eastern side of Timor Island. So when we're talking about Timor-Leste, we're talking about Eastern Timor, and the western side of the island is occupied by Indonesia. So there's a border right down the center. And Indonesian coffees often are thought of as you know, having a wet hold tradition. It's not true everywhere, but I think that comes to mind for a lot of people. And wet hold coffees produce rustic flavors. Nothing wrong with that. It can be a bit polarizing, but you know, arguably what's put Sumatran coffee on the map. But by contrast, Timor-Leste has a history of or a tradition of wet processing coffee, which tends to produce cleaner cut profiles, balance. We often think of them as slotting in next to you know, a washed El Salvador coffee or Guatemalan coffee, rather than putting them next to a coffee from Sumatra. And you know, we've been buying the last few years from a really interesting wet mill that's run by a guy named Peter Dugan, who's an Australian living in East Timor. He started a farm fresh produce project a few years back. That was the function was to gain market access to rural farmers for their vegetables, and through that he's encouraged farmers to grow coffee, and as part of their you know, suite of subsistence crops that they're growing as an extra source of income, and has set up his own wet mill where he's processing the coffee. And, he's offered a level of traceability that wasn't something you would have seen 20 years ago out of Timor. And so a lot of these coffees that we are buying are village specific or region specific, which is really interesting to bring in and taste side by side, because there are some subtle differences when we're talking about wet process and some pretty large differences when we're looking at some of the more wilder process methods like dry processing, for example. Right now we have 3 Timor-Leste coffees on our site from this project. One I just checked and we're getting really low on is this Timor-Leste Hadamai, and this is a wet process coffee. So the flavors are going to be a lot more balanced and crowd pleasing. It's a real versatile coffee that's going to be great for espresso as well. And we also have honey processed coffee, Darfusu region, and it's a little bit fruitier, but it's not a fruit bomb honey processed coffee. However, the dry processed coffee from Lacklow is. These are all through that milling operation that Peter Dugan runs, and are all really interesting coffees to taste next to each other to sort of show the full range of what's available in Timor-Leste. And I was reminded that we have a decaf right now that has a little Timor in it as well. And it is a mix of Timor with a wet hold Sumatran coffee, and pretty interesting, kind of, very similar to like a Mocha Java decaf coffee, and really nice, really sweet, and a very versatile decaf. So check out Timor if you get a chance. We have a few coffees available right now, and I know we also have a container on the water that should hopefully be here after the first of the year, and we'll start working through those as well. And the other thing I wanted to mention, it's sample sets specifically, but it's really this whole side of our menu that I think is often overlooked. I have this terrible graphic to share, which is our green coffee menu printed out in black and white. So there it is. And that little blue region over there, all the way to the right, is green coffee related products that are not necessarily single origin. So this whole big section here is all of our origin pages that you're probably familiar with. And over here we have things like sample sets and blends. And sample sets specifically, we have 2 general categories. One is our standard green coffee sample sets that we have year round, and these can be bought in 4 1-pound bags or 8 1-pound bags, and they offer like a little bit of customization in that you can either choose for them to be all single origin regular coffees, it can be all espresso, which would include some blends and some single origin espresso coffees, and you can also have it be decaf or some combination of those two. What you don't get to do is choose the coffees, but for letting us choose the coffees, we also implement a pretty substantial discount on the overall price, which doesn't change depending on what coffees are in that are in the set. And so we have our standard sample sets that are available all year round. Oh, and one other thing that's really cool about those is that we offer them as a subscription as well. So you can order that on a monthly or bi-monthly basis and at one time. And then we also have more seasonal sets that tend to follow like a theme of flavor or, might be origin related. Right now we have the cacao set that Julia is going to mention a little bit later. It's cacao and green coffee. And then we also have this newer sample set that's our latest edition sample set that I'm pretty excited about. And we just thought it would be really cool to offer all of our most recent coffee editions every week. So the set changes weekly. And if you didn't know, we add new coffees every week, and it's to the tune of like 4 to 8 coffees. So at the end of each week on Friday, we update that latest edition set with all of the newest coffees. So you can just go in and buy them all in one click. I guess the caveat is that we, for now, aren't including really expensive coffees. So like Geisha, for example, we launched a Geisha this week, which is amazing. But we're not It's not in the set, and that's just because we think some people who go in and buy it in one click don't want to pay $15 a pound for coffee. You can always hop over to the Guatemalan page and buy that separately. And you can actually go in our latest edition set and deselect any coffees you don't want, or bump up the number of 1 pound bags that are included. So that's a really cool set. I hope we can actually offer that at some point as a subscription as well. I think today's set that we are launching will go live in an hour or so. So sample sets, check them out all the way over on the right side. And then you can actually see on here that Timor-Leste is right there under Indonesia and Southeast Asia. So, yeah, check them out.
Thank you, Dan. All right. I wanted to share our excitement for our compostable bag that we have here at Sweet Maria's. They are very similar to other bags that you may see, kind of looks just like a valve bag like you may see in most coffee shops. But these are the Biotre 3 bags that are fully compostable. That's also the inclusion of a zipper seal, and the valve is fully compostable as well. So there's no need to remove those if you're going to throw that into your industrial compost, which is super cool. Not a lot of people offer this, so it's really great. And actually, Tricor who fabricates these, actually brings our sample around to other roasteries and coffee shops to kind of tout the amazing qualities of it. So that's really great. And on it, I don't know if you can see, but we have a little printed botanical. This was actually a nice illustration that Tom made based off of a botanical French book from the 30s. And it's not branded for Sweet Maria's on either side. And it's a nice craft bag, so you're able to affix your own label, or you can draw on it, or do anything that you would like, because there's no branding for ourselves. And the idea is that you can buy these. We have a half pound and a full pound that you can buy in bulk. We have them up for 10 packs right now for $9 and $11 for 10 packs. And you can use them to package the coffee that you roast or cacao. And you can share it with your friends. You can even use it to start a small business if you wanted to. The nice thing about the half pound is that it actually fits 10 ounces of roasted coffee if it's roasted light. It can fit a larger amount. I have a little half pound. This is the half pound bag with a half pound of coffee in it. So you can actually see that it can fit substantially more coffee in there. And then here's a larger bag that's full. So again, they're great for sharing. If you want to share for the holidays, you want to buy some coffee and spread it around as gifts, it's great. They can also be sealed, heat sealed along the top if you wanted to retain even more freshness as far as that goes. So yeah, looks like there's going to be links for everything in the chat for this video. So yeah, check those out. We love them. And then also I wanted to talk about our coffee and cacao exploration set, which we launched recently. It is something I have been working very closely on. So for me, it is very above the radar, but some people may not know. As Jarrett said, if you're not following us very closely, we have dipped our feet into cacao, which is the name for unroasted cocoa. Cocoa is the name after it is roasted. The raw product is called cacao. And we are, for a very limited time, offering a set that comes with 4 coffees and a cacao of your choosing. So it comes with 4 1-pound coffees that we thought cups well together when thinking about chocolate, and they're interesting to try alongside of the cacao or roasted cocoa as well. So we're offering the 4 individual pounds. We have the Uganda Semi-Leaky Forest, which has a lot more cinnamon and fig notes once you roast it. And then we have the Ecuador Cacao, which is has more of a dark profile and some honeysuckle when you roast it. So you have the option to choose between these 2 pounds. And we have library articles that tell you how to roast it in your Bimor if you have one, or in your home convection toaster oven, or if you have convection. So we have a lot of instruction, and also what to do with it after that. We have instructions on how to make a nice brewed cocoa tea. And so we have a step-by-step on that in a library article that I think is being dropped. So I wanted to let you know what the 4 coffees were that we will be including in the set. We have the Brazil Canastra Luis Otavio, which has more of a milk chocolate note to it. We have the Guatemalan San Martin that has balanced chocolate and nice balance with the acidity. We have the Nicaragua, the Acopio Soyutal, that has really interesting. It has more of a confectionery, like cooked sugar and nuts and confectionery, like sugary sweetness and chocolate aspects to it. This was the most giving me pause for thought because it was the most interesting on the table I'm remembering. And then the last coffee is the Rwanda Nyamasheke Nyakabinga, which is more intensely bittering in its chocolate notes, but it still has a lot of acidity, nice acidity, and an aromatic chocolate. So yeah, again, that set comes with those 4 coffees as well as 2 pounds of either the Uganda or the Ecuador. And we're about 50% of the way sold out with that set. So if you're interested in it at all, I recommend jumping on it soon, as this is our only exploration we will do into cacao. We probably won't revisit it, but we do have lots of resources about that if you're interested in it in any way. And yeah, I think that about ties it up with all the things that we were interested in. I know that there are links for everything in the chat. And
Are there any questions?
Yeah, if anyone has any questions about anything.
I'll do it verbally. Someone was asking if you have recommendations for ways to chocolatize the cocoa.
Process into chocolate.
Oh yeah, that would be. We have been linking to the Chocolate Alchemy, who is the supreme authority on all things cacao, and we've been sending people over there. John over there has a lot to talk about. It's the website is built out with tons of information similar to ours. So if you have information on that, especially that part of the process, we have not gone that deep into it since it requires specialty. It takes a lot of machinery and a lot of knowledge and know-how. So please go over to John's site, the Chocolate Alchemy, and you can definitely find out all that information there. Okay. Yeah. So that's all that we thought.
Yeah, and the cacao set that definitely falls underneath that seasonal sample set that we have that comes and goes. And it reminded me that we actually have a couple upcoming for the holidays that should probably be on people's radars. I don't know that these are going to fall under the fly under the radar category, because at least one of them tends to be pretty popular. But we're going to try our hardest today to get our extra large sample sets up, which we put together really with like the gift giving, coffee roaster in mind. And it's a set of 10 pounds of coffee split between 2 5-pound bags. We have one that is African coffee. I think right now it's going to be Ethiopian and Tanzanian coffee. They will change throughout the holiday season. And then we also have a Latin American set, which is Guatemalan and Nicaragua, I believe. And they come with 10 pounds of coffee. And we are going to include the Biotre bags that Julia was talking about as well. The configuration of the bags we're still sort of sorting that out, but you will definitely have enough to pack 10 pounds of coffee that's been roasted down into whatever your percentage loss is at the end. And so we're really working to get those up today. If not today, we'll be at the beginning of next week. But if you're on our newsletter, you should be seeing these updates as we post these things, or following us on Instagram or Facebook. Anybody out there have any questions? I see a few viewers.
I think all the information can be archived and people can look it up.
We're really
Forever
going to
more.
try to host these live streams every couple weeks. So, the next one will hopefully be 2 weeks from now. So, yeah, feel free to check the schedule. It's something that we'll be sort of posting through social media, Byron, and that when the next one's coming, I'll make sure to announce it. But we're always looking for other topics to discuss. So please feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Nice. Nice. Very nice.